But this is our filmmaker. This is the world premiere of this film. And I have to say, wow, I had no idea of this issue at all. I'll start off with a question. I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I've interviewed people who are up against big obstacles and have actually been in fear of their lives in some cases. Are you afraid, and how do you deal with it?
I'm not afraid at all. Thank you. I think it's my honor to make this film and to bring it here and bring it hopefully to many more audiences who need to know this issue. It's undercovered. When I first started to make this movie, I had no idea what Confucius Institute is all about. I'm a Chinese. I came to Canada 12 and a half years ago. I only knew Confucius Institute was a Chinese language and culture school, that's all. And only when I heard about the story of Sonia Zhao, the young teacher from China, I was touched by her personal story. If you have ever experienced China, you will have an idea how difficult the decision she made to defect the Chinese government-owned Confucius Institute and to stay in China while her mother is still in China, and her mother was persecuted by the government for her religious belief. So how courageous decision she made to just stay in Canada, to live a free life. And then after I met her, I started to do my research to get to know what Confucius Institute is all about. And then I was shocked. As a Chinese, I was shocked. There's so much secrets behind that seemingly benign Chinese language and culture learning school. And there's so many controversies surrounding this language, culture organization. So I made my decision, okay, this is not a news piece. This must be a documentary. So that's how I got onto this journey. And it's a difficult journey, for sure. Okay, we got a question. Okay. Yeah.
I guess I was just wondering why Canada's a democracy. I'm an immigrant too. And so a lot of people come here for, because our human rights and we live in a democratic country. What I can't understand, how do the Chinese, Confucius Institute, how do they grow people in a democratic country to open something like that without, looking at it? So it's money, right?
You got it, right? So many people are saying, making this, it's money. It's money. Money is very important, plays a very important role here. And alongside the money, you see people like Sonia Zhao. They are Chinese language instructors hired by the Chinese government. And they sent those Chinese instructors to the foreign universities and schools, to the free world, for free. And they also, the Chinese government also send you textbooks. So there's money, teacher, textbooks. All you need to establish a Chinese language program are already provided by the Chinese government. And all you need to provide is just schools and students. That's you already have, right, as an educational institution. And you don't need to put any money into this partnership. You just need to accept what the Chinese government are willing to provide it to you. So.
Two questions, if I may. What is Sonia doing today, and what is the position of her mother? How is she faring? That's the first question. The second question, did I understand in the film that the teachers live separate from the community? And why?
So the first question is, how is Sonia today? Sonia is teaching in a private kids school in Toronto. She's living a very happy life, and she started to open up more herself, like you saw in the movie, she was living in fear, constant fear, like daily basis, even moment basis. She was feared about her personal safety and her mother's, but she's happy now. And her mother still practiced Falun Gong in China, still under close watch by the Chinese government. Their houses are watched by the camera. So, and she has difficulties to bring her parents to Canada. Her mother doesn't have a passport just because of the religious belief. The government deprived her from having a passport. So it's very difficult for Sonia to reunite with the parents. And the second question is?
I understood from the documentary that it appeared that all the teachers were living in one place. Is that true, and why?
The teachers sent by the Chinese government to teach at Confucius Institute, they lived in, like Sonia, she lived in a house rented by a local resident who is in Hamilton, right? And they are in the community. They participate in the community activities, and actually Sonia told me her personal experience. One day she lived together with another 2 instructors like herself, hired by the Chinese government to send it to Canada. So the 3 girls who taught in the McMaster Confucius Institute, they share a house rented from a local Hamilton residents. So the 3 girls one day rented a DVD from a local library. It's called 7 Years in Tibet, starring Brad Pitt. Yeah. So the 3 girls were shocked after seeing that movie, because Sonia told me what they learned from the DVD was totally different from what the Chinese government taught them. Like, we all grown up in China, and we were taught, like the parents told the school board, Tibetans are like separate, like Dalai Lama is separatist, and Tibetan is owned by China, historically, present, and in future. So that's it. And they didn't know about the killing of Tibetan lamas, Tibetan monks. So Sonia and her roommate were all shocked seeing the DVD, seeing the movie, and they were discussing the next day in an office. But they were stopped by the Chinese director, who told them, "You gotta stop. If you keep discussing this movie, you will go back China and you will write a self-criticism report." Nobody was daring to continue their talk. And Sonia told me, even though the Confucius Institutes are outside of China, but it's still like in China, and you got to, they are required to be in line with the Communist Party. Yeah, actually, sir, I have 2 guests to introduce to you. One is Mr. Michel Juneau-Katsuya, the former Chief of Asia Pacific from Canadian Security Intelligence Service. Another one is Miss Sheng Xue. She is very courageous. She is a witness of the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre. She was in Beijing, and she herself escaped China to Canada right after the massacre, and she is a award-winning journalist, writer, and democracy movement activist. Yeah. So if anyone want to raise questions to those 2 guests,
I just
sorry. Okay.
I was very surprised about this. I mean, as a member of Amnesty International, we've been knew about the Falun, but to have this here, and recently we watched a documentary about charter schools in the States, which is a similar thing, in which they are all over the world to do with the Islamic State. So I cannot believe that this is all happening, and I thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. And yeah.
Thank you. So it's a statement. Sorry. Yeah.
I've got one quick question for you. I didn't get from the documentary a feel for the scope of the problem in Canada. Do you have any numbers for how many universities in Canada have got CI embedded in them? And is there any Confucius classrooms embedded at the high school level?
Yeah, you mean in Canada?
In Canada.
Yeah, in Canada right now we have 12 CIs, one in Coquitlam School District, as you saw in the movie, and the other 11s are all embedded in universities. Some of them you saw them, like Carleton, Waterloo, Seneca College, and Brock University, and BCIT, and University of Regina, University of another one, and University of St. Mary, and
Across Canada, anyway.
yeah, across Canada. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this one.
Hi, I'm in cross-cultural education and I worked at TDSP for 26 years. I'm also quite involved with a number of individual Chinese who are involved with Chinese organizations in Peel Region and Brampton area in Toronto. And I'm wondering what kind of plan you have, since you're Chinese, you didn't know about CI. Obviously, amongst the 700,000 Chinese in Toronto, there are probably a lot more who could use this information. I'm wondering if you have any plans to connect with the Chinese community with this film in Toronto.
Yes, of course. Even though I would say like this. My first intention is to bring this information to the Western world, because here are where the Confucius Institutes are, and then after that, I think Chinese community too, because like you saw, China is my home country, and so many Chinese kids are out of school because of poverty. And the Chinese government didn't use the money to its own kids. And right, they're using the money to infiltrate foreign countries. So I think I really wanted to bring this film. But in terms of plan, I think I really encourage whoever think this is an important issue to first share this information, share the information about the film to your friends and relatives, whoever, family members. And then if anyone is interested in hosting a community screening, or any organizations who want to partner with our producers, we can work together to bring this film. So that's why I bring a sign-up form at the table outside the door. If anyone wants to leave your information, name, contact, you can please sign up there. That welcome anyone who wants. And if you want to ask any question to the former spy, an intelligence expert, and Snow.
Better. Yeah, it's easier. Yeah, my name is Sheng Xue in Chinese, and it is snow in English.
The gentleman in the back.
I have a question about, does CSIS know about this, and is the government doing?
Yes. Yes, I'm the former chief of Asia Pacific for CSIS. My unit was covering from Afghanistan all the way to North Korea. We had two functions, tactical and strategic, and our function was to try to assess the threat to the security of Canada. You heard my sexy French accent. I'm covering, therefore, the entire country for that purpose. I'm not a Falun Gong practitioner for anything. My job was really to try to protect the country. We are very, very aware. CSIS has written a report. I share those reports with allies. We have also received reports from highlights. There is other countries where they have been also actively investigating the Confucius Institute. For us, this is a spy satellite. They are literally doing spy activities. They are literally here, not only to try to infiltrate the mind of the people, the Canadians or the Chinese community. They are actively also doing economic espionage, political espionage, and definitely trying to gain as much as possible a long-term strategy for placing what we call agent of influence. Little notion of history, Stalin used to call the agent of influence the useful idiots. And it's people who, like, who would be against, sharing culture? Who will be against sharing language? Who will be against sharing friendship between countries? Only a fool will oppose those things. And that's why, and you heard me in the documentary talking about the Trojan horse. This is where, and the Chinese are the Chinese government, I should say, the Chinese government are extremely good at this. Let's remember one thing, 2,000 years ago, there's a little booklet that was written by a general called Sheng Xue, and he wrote The Art of War. So you're not going to teach a Chinese government how to suck an egg. They know, they invented it. They know how to spy. The last chapter of The Art of War is the art of using my spy. So they're good at it. They're extremely good. They're a phenomenal opponent when it comes to spy activities. Because what we need to understand is it's all a game of influence. Spy activities, it's all about integrating into the foreign policy and the national policy. You spy on people inside your own country, but you spy on people abroad as well. And the best way to do that is to use people who intentionally or naively will collaborate with you and will agree to work with you. Oh, it is charm. It is charm from the beginning to the end. Did you notice the former board director or director, the board of director, the chair, so thank you. The number of Chinese gifts he had around him, and they were expensive ones, the one that he had there.
Yeah, was that his conflict of interest? What came out about that?
Sorry.
What was his conflict of interest? In that he resigned over the chair of the board, Toronto board? Was it gifts he got or money, a kickback, or what?
Around that time, the former chair of the Toronto School District was already in controversy. Not only because of the CI issue, but also because of some other issue. So as far as I know, by the time the Globe and Mail was doing an investigation on him, and during that, amidst all those controversies, there's the biggest one, the CI issue broke out. So he resigned, I remember 3 days after the first meeting, when the CI got to the table of the TDSB board. So.
Is CSIS communicating out to our school boards in this country? Do they spread this message?
CSIS is extremely bad at communicating, period. They're not going to share information with even law enforcement sometimes. And the problem is that technically we're not supposed to get involved into politics. We're supposed to keep a certain distance and a certain neutrality. Our job is to protect Canada. Our job is to protect Canadians and Canadian interests. In that perspective, if in a democratic society we want to go in a certain direction, that's up to the popular vote. That said, when we identified some people that are performing what is inappropriate according to international law or our Canadian law, then therefore we're going to investigate. But our job is to report to the Canadian government and not to the general public or anything like that.
So it's really on our MPs to get this message out to the board. Because I can tell you, there's a board here that doesn't have a CI, but it certainly has Chinese students, and it's part of their budget.
Oh, and having Chinese students is not necessarily the problem. Not what we know. What we know is that unfortunately the Chinese government, and particularly the Chinese intelligence services, are extremely good at using everything in their bag to be capable to sort of gain that notion of influence. And if I learned anything at all working on my years on the Asian desk, is that the Chinese government has understood a long time ago that influence is more powerful than control. Again, lesson coming from The Art of War. Influence is much, much more powerful. If any of you wants to try to understand how the Chinese government strategy works, learn the game of Go. The game of Go is the best way to describe how the Chinese government works. And there is thousands and thousands of books, philosophy book also that was written about the art of Go. Go has been, it's an ancient game that has been taught in all the court in Asia, generals and ministers and emperor for millenniums. And it's really the art of influence, encircling your opponent and gaining control by building all the influence and the control on the board. And that's how you win. That's exactly how the Chinese government works. You're going to try to get influence through their mighty dollar or yen. They're going to try to do it with education. They're going to try to do it with politics. And every time somebody will stand up, what they will be accused of? Racism, xenophobia, or things like this. Yeah.
Wow. Canadians are very tolerant. Yes. And certainly if somebody came to us with a gift of education and teachers and books, then especially when our school boards sometimes struggle, then this is a wonderful thing. Were there any discussions about curriculum?
Oh, yeah.
As to what couldn't be taught, or was the thumb put down as to what maybe a school board felt was inappropriate or not could be maybe not taught? Were there any discussions in that regard?
Yes, there were 4 meetings in the TDSB's discussion whether or not to accept a CI. One of the major issues discussed was the textbooks or curriculum. Actually, I learned TDSB compiled its own Chinese language textbooks 10 years ago. From now, it should be 12 years ago. The TDSB teachers compiled that by themselves, and it's pretty good textbooks. I was talking with the former TDSB teacher, Chinese teacher. She was part of that work, and she showed me the textbooks. And it's very good because it's local teacher compiled the textbook, and the content is very much in tune with your Canadian life, not like the textbook sent by Chinese government, which teaches you life in China. And many of the concepts is not only different than the concepts inside Canada or any other Western countries, but also conflict. Because in China, it's a totally different political system, and the ideology is totally different. It's communism, it's dictatorship, and the basic propaganda tool is education. Like myself, from the kindergarten to university, every courses contains the propaganda, the communism propaganda. So it's become natural when you think, right? Language can channelize thoughts, which is very powerful. Like the chair, the new chair in the TDSB, after the former resigned, the new chair, the Madam Rupta, she said, language is very important. It's not original quotes, but the meaning is, it's into the heart of a culture. So that is actually one of the reasons she wanted to reject the CI program. So textbooks is important. It's very important. This gentleman.
Thank you. Fear has been mentioned a couple of times. Has there been any known violence against Falun Gong members or followers in Canada at this time that you know of?
Any violence towards them?
By presumably Chinese followers, communist followers?
I think Canada is the country values freedom of belief and freedom of speech and rule of law and human rights. So on the surface, I don't know any of the physical assault or any persecution towards Falun Gong practitioners here in Canada. But behind the surface, in the bottom, the persecution still exists in the form of, for example, the Confucius Institutes. Because in a hiring contract, one of the terms is you cannot participate in Falun Gong or any activities. Also by Chinese media. I mean, Chinese media, there are two types of Chinese media. One, actually, Ms. Snow, she probably has better answer for this. She herself is an award-winning journalist, Chinese Canadian, and she's very good at it.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I came to Canada right after the Tiananmen Square massacre. So today makes me to be away from my home country 27 years, 6 months, and 13 days. And I have been on blacklist and denied to go back to my hometown to visit. The Chinese soft power landed in our soil, not necessarily with CI. I want to mention this. I was introduced by PEN Canada to a high school to collaborate with them for a human rights course. And after one lectures, I was told that by PEN Canada that the school turned me down and they don't welcome me to come to the school again because that course should be for a year. So I asked why, because the principal was very happy when I was there to give a speech. And I was told that because the students, Chinese students, they told their parents what they did in school, and their parents were very unhappy. You know, so I was very, very sad. They persecute people and make money in China and send their kids here to Canadian school and to study. And they don't want their kids to know the truth about human rights. So PEN Canada said, sorry, we cannot do nothing about this because that was a private Catholic school. And they need to have the Chinese students and they need to have money from China. So this is the problem. I ask myself many times, is that Canada so poor and to have the money from China for our life? No. But as Michel explained, the Chinese government is so clever. They know how to influence you from all the angles. And as Doris did a great job, and for the CI program, it came to Canada 13 years ago. It's been a long time when people realize that they are already here. And I'm very lucky. I know the Chinese government for a long time ago, so I tried very hard to tell people that that is not language, it's not culture, it's not education, it's not about the history of China, it's nothing about that, it's the influence. But people didn't believe it. They think, oh, you are so weird. They did. And until there are so many things happened they realize, but it's very late. And it's 500 CI across the world. And it's more than 1,000 classes. And they already, how much they influence us, I don't know, but they already did what they want. And I think a lot of people knows that the Chinese communists is very evil, and they are wrong, and they are here. Probably many of us, we don't know what we can do. Probably this is a question for us. And if your kids going to school to learn Chinese, to tell them, and to raise the question about human rights, and to test, if the class is being controlled by the Chinese government. And if you are, willing to study Chinese, and you need to ask yourself, this is Canada, and we value our value, where it stands, and we need to protect that. And it's not something we have that and will have that forever. The influence from the Chinese government is very, very strong. It's much more stronger than what we think now. And for the immigrants, the cultural exchange, the education, the visits, and especially when our politicians have been invited to visit China, and they will be changed a little bit for one visit, and after 10 visits, they will be changed a lot, right? And because you will be served as a queen and a king there, you will feel, oh, nothing wrong here. The Chinese service is so good. And then you will feel very sorry if you see something strong against to the human rights violation, because you have been served very well. This is our nature, right? And so keep in mind that it's not an enemy that they shows an enemy's face to you, but may shows very, very nice face to you. But you need to, keep that in mind. And what Doris mentioned, since I'm here in Canada, so the Chinese government cannot do physical attack on me, but everything beside that. There are about 3.5 books about me, and 700 pieces articles online, and it's more than 10,000 email groups attack on me, and many types of PS photos, naked photos about me. And my husband, they are sending out those ugly stuff every day. And they sent this to my family members, even to my uncle, who is 86 years old. And they warn my friends, relatives in China. So they use every way. He knows very well. So I sometimes feel I'm very lucky. I'm so lucky because I'm in Canada. My friend who is in Thailand has been kidnapped October 17th. Publisher back to China, and then another two friends kidnapped from the Thai prison back to China, October 27th. So my friends from Hong Kong has been kidnapped back to China. This has happened in many countries. Hopefully not in Canada until today. Thank you very much.
What I think it is important to mention also is that this is a very, very, very well-researched, well-made documentary. Of course, it talks about one specific topic, which is the value of a good documentary. You don't want to have a buffet of issues. You want to have one issue and you look at it and stuff like that. What I want to be sure that everybody understand is that this is not against necessarily the Chinese. This is specifically talking and denouncing a strategy that has been used by a specific country called China. And it's not necessarily unique to China. This spy activities has been as old as, they say the oldest game in the world, and sometimes I'm wondering which one came first. And the point being is that spy activities and influence activities like this have been going on forever, and it's not the only country doing it. But this country is particularly good at it. It's really, really good at it. I started my career working on the Russians and chasing KGB officers and GRU officers in Canada, catching some and being successful. But when I went to Asia and started to work on Asian desk and everything, I discovered quite a phenomenal opponent. And I have to be respectful to the power and the capability of these guys. But what I want to stress is too often, even the opponent who are trying to criticize what we're doing, this is not an anti-Chinese movie or documentary. This is talking about the Chinese activities of a government that, or I should say rephrase, this is the activities of a government using literally a masquerade to try to obtain, to alter motive, to achieve alter motive. And these are alter motive that we are trying to sort of reveal as much as possible. In my game, we have a little acronym that we call, which is MICE, for money, ideology, sex, and ego. I can assure you with all my experience that I can recruit anybody in this room with one of those buttons. I just need to be patient and to find the right one. Even the Pope, if I need to go to the Pope, I'll do it. These guys, they use it. They know it. They invented it. They wrote the book about it.
I think time is limited.
I think we have to wrap it up. This has been wonderful, and I just want to thank you all so much, Doris. Doris not only directed the film, she wrote it, she produced it. The only thing she wasn't was the camera person on it. Thank you, Michel and Snow, for joining us today. I think we have all learned so much and have a lot to take away from this wonderful film. And we are so honored that we have the world premiere screening of In the Name of Confucius. Thank you so much.
I just want to thank everyone to stay this late to interact with us. Like, just we have sign-up form here. Hopefully, you can leave your email there so we can send you updates and news about the film. Thank you. I will continue my work on those kind of themes. I'm not fearing. Thank you.